So the match is still going on, and I think there's going to be a win, 3 points on the board for Madrid. Anything could happen, but we are in the 90th minute, and it doesn't really look like Marseille have enough in them to get something from this game. I do want to talk about the match because I am really disappointed with this results, the performance. I think the performance is more disappointing than the result. First of all, I want to talk about Vinicius Jr. being benched. I know, Alonso is coming into the club. He's trying to make a statement. He's trying to do something different. Maybe let some players know you're not undroppable. Those type of things. But I think there are certain players in certain situations where you do not necessarily put on the bench or you don't necessarily, exclude from the team. Vinicius Jr. in the Champions League game is definitely one of them. Maybe Vinicius Jr. in the La Liga game, maybe you say, okay, let's bench him. Let's put him on the bench. Let's try Rodrigo. And I know Rodrigo does have pedigree in the Champions League, but I think Vinicius has a lot more. Juventus, Dortmund 4-4. I think Juventus are definitely going to be an underdog this season. I don't know if I'll make a video for them, but I'll have to rewatch that match before I do that. But definitely Juventus, Dortmund 4-4 at the moment. But we're here to talk about Real Madrid. Vinicius is not a player you bench in a Champions League game to play Rodrigo, although Rodrigo does have pedigree in the Champions League. Vinicius is a player, who can perform and who has, proven performance in the Champions League. Whatever the reason is, unless it's a reason of maybe discipline, something, if it's in relation to performance, I don't think Vinicius played that badly in the Sociedad game. He wasn't the best, but he didn't play that badly enough to be dropped in a Champions League game, the first match in the Champions League, where we need to kind of make a statement to the fans that we're ready for this competition. You do not drop a player like Vinicius. I understand maybe where Alonso is coming from dropping a player like Vinicius. Maybe he's trying to prove a point. Maybe he's trying to, get a reaction from Vinicius Jr. But I will say it again, you do not drop a player of the quality of Vinicius Jr. in a game of importance like this. First Champions League game for Real Madrid is always, always, always important. You want to start on the front foot. You want to give the fans something to look forward to as the competition goes. Because again, Champions League, very important for Real Madrid. So you do not bench a player of the importance of Vinicius and the quality of Vinicius, especially in this competition. I understand if this is a La Liga game and, you can bench him, stuff like that. But Champions League, not a big fan of it. But I don't want to even say I understand the dropping of Vinicius because, again, Alonso hasn't managed Vinicius in the Champions League. Vinicius is a different player altogether in the Champions League. So I'm not going to really say I understand. It is what it is. It looks like we're going to win the game. Again, the game is still going. I think we have like 7 minutes at a time. But it is what it is. It looks like we're going to get 3 points. And there's nothing really to complain about that in that respect. Rodrigo is going to be an issue in the sense that he is being given the opportunities and it doesn't look like he's taking the opportunities. I know people might probably say, he got, the foul that led to the MBAPPE penalty that he scored. But, besides getting the foul that led to that, he was not as impactful in the game as you'd expect Rodrigo to be. We've seen Rodrigo in Champions League matches. We've seen what Rodrigo can do in the Champions League match. And I saw Rodrigo and I didn't like what I saw. He has become very obsessed with playing on the left wing. And, it has kind of ruined his whole game. Rodrigo is not a goal scorer. If you talk to any Real Madrid fan and you ask them to describe Rodrigo to you, they're not going to describe him as a goal scorer. They're going to describe him as a versatile forward who can, score goals and can create chances. But it seems that now that he's been moved over to the left-hand side, he is focusing on trying to prove to everyone that he can actually play on the left-hand side. And it looks like it is reducing his game, it is impacting his performance, and he's not playing the way he normally does. Now I see Rodrigo trying to get into the box, try to dribble, which is not Rodrigo's game. He is a dribbler, he can dribble, he can get past players, but that is not his game. He lays the ball off, he makes a run into the box, and someone finds him. That is what Rodrigo was doing on the right-hand side. But now that he's on the left, it seems like he's trying to take on more players, trying to, create opportunities to score a goal or to do something a little bit special, something like what Vinicius would do. The reason we liked Vinicius and Rodrigo was there was a dynamic. It was different. There was, Vinicius was the one trying to get the goals, and Rodrigo was the, versatile one. He's unpredictable. You don't know what he's going to do next in terms of he can score a goal, he can create a goal, and he can dribble you and do something special. But now he's on the left. It looks like he's trying and focusing more on, scoring goals and trying to do that something special, which I think is hindering his game. And I think the more chances Alonso is going to give him, the more prevalent this is going to be. And I don't want to say this, but I think it might cost us a game. I think we're going to play a game where Rodrigo is going to start off with Vinicius, and Rodrigo not taking his chances or not playing the way he normally plays might affect us and might end up costing a game. And I never thought I was going to say this about Rodrigo. I think he should just stay on the right. I think he should stop this obsession with playing on the left, because you could see Alonso is not going to move Rodrigo to the left. Sorry, to the right. He subs off Rodrigo for Vinicius. So Rodrigo is basically now a backup to Vinicius Jr., which shouldn't be the case. The quality Rodrigo has, he should not be sitting on the bench to be a backup to Vinicius. So it's either he gets, he can play right wing. He has been very, very effective as a right winger. I don't know what this obsession is with wanting to play at the left. I don't know why he wants to be a superstar. Not everyone is going to be a superstar. Benzema, when he was in the team with Cristiano Ronaldo and Gareth Bale, he was a good player, but no one was talking about him. Not everyone is going to have to be, or not everyone is going to get the opportunity to be a superstar in the team. When you're with the players, with the quality of Vinicius, Mbappé, Bellingham, you're not going to be the star. No one is going to talk about you. You're going to have to, do your stuff in the background and avoid the limelight. I don't think Rodrigo is going to win a Ballon d'Or at Real Madrid unless he does something very special like what Benzema did. But even with that, you're going to have to let players like Vinicius, Mbappe, Bellingham, these players are going to have to leave before you start to see the shine of Rodrigo, because these players are, I don't even know how to explain it. They're just superstars. Bellingham, Vinicius, Mbappe, these players are superstars. You're not going to be a superstar. You just got to accept it. You're a good player. I'm not saying Rodrigo is not a good player because he's not a superstar. Rodrigo is not a superstar because he's not a superstar. It's as simple as that. It's literally as simple as that. And he's either going to have to get used to it or he's not going to be a part of this team. I don't know how long it's going to take Alonso to realize that Rodrigo is not the Rodrigo we saw years ago playing on the right wing, playing on the left wing. I don't know how long it's going to take Alonso to realize that, but I think it's going to get to a point where he's going to realize that, and it's going to be an issue for Rodrigo. So that was just a little rant on Rodrigo, because I kept seeing him on the left-hand side trying stuff that he normally doesn't do. And I was very, very confused. Why is Rodrigo playing like this? Why has Rodrigo's game changed? Is it because he's playing on the left? Is he trying to prove a point? So, I don't know. That was just a little rant on Rodrigo. Let's just get into the match. I mean, it's more 9 minutes rant on Rodrigo. Yeah, let's just get into the stuff in the match. I didn't like what I saw in the first half. We were very sloppy when it came to, I think, Marseille. If Marseille came up against Barcelona, if Marseille came up against Liverpool, if Marseille came up against a prolific team, which we should be a prolific team based on the recent performances we've had. But I think if Marseille came up against a prolific team, they lose 5, 6, probably 7. They lose by a lot of goals today. There were so many chances in the first 30 minutes where Marseille lost the ball trying to pass the ball out from the back. There were so many opportunities we had taking the ball from them, and for some reason, I'm just gonna attribute that reason to fatigue. We played Saturday, Tuesday. It's a little bit close. I'm just going to blame that on fatigue. I don't want to believe Real Madrid players are not concentrated on our first Champions League day. First match day in the Champions League. I don't want to believe that. I am just going to blame it on fatigue, because the sloppiness I saw in the first 30 minutes was unacceptable. Mastantuano, Arda Güler leading to Marseille's first goal. Even Mbappé to a certain extent. Valverde as well. There was sloppiness in the first 20, 30 minutes. We lost the possession way too many times. We should have been 3-0 up by the end of the first half. We should have been 3-0 up by the end of the first half. And that's not even a debate. If you watch the game, first 30 minutes, we should have been 3-0 up. I don't know why. We were so sloppy losing the ball. I'm going to blame that to fatigue. What I like to see was the full team press. Very, very interesting. And I think it's something that very, if it's implemented well, we could really, take advantage of teams that are trying to pass out from the back and all of that. But when we do meet a team that plays through that press, we definitely will be, found wanting, because when Marseille did play through that press, they found themselves in good position. I think Aubameyang had a good opportunity to score, hit that side netting. So definitely like the full press, but we do have to be careful with that. Mastantuono, I think he's good. I mean, obviously Mastantuono is good. He's a good talent. He's definitely going to get better. And I think when he does get better, we're going to see him, shine a lot. He had a lot of opportunities today. And I think he, if we weren't as sloppy as we were, he probably would have gotten a goal, maybe an assist. His dribbling, very, very, good. His engine, very, very good, up and down, running around. Definitely like that. And I think he's going to be a really good player for us once he starts hitting form. Rodrigo, I've talked about. Second half, we still looked a little bit sloppy on the ball. I think Real Madrid fans, would not be happy with the fact that we had to use 2 penalties to beat Marseille. Now we're coming up against Manchester City. We're coming up against Liverpool, who look really good. We need to start putting the ball in the back of the net consistently. Not no penalties, not trying to get penalties and all of that. So I think the 2 penalties were actually, apart from the first, I think the first one was a bad tackle from Kondogbia. The second one was a little bit lucky. It was a handball. And I think, we shouldn't be relying on penalties to beat Marseille. We should be putting them away. 4 or 5 goals if we could. So, because we're coming up against better teams, stronger opposition. So we definitely have to start getting to do that. The red card from Carvajal. The red card was very unnecessary, especially given the fact that Trent went off injured and Carvajal coming on as our only right back in the team. I think our next match in the Champions League is against who? Let me just check this real quick. Because if it's up against a really good team, I will not be, it's going to be very, very, we have who? Okay. We have, it was a straight red, so he's definitely going to miss more than just one match. We have Juventus as well. Juventus look good. Okay. Well, we'll have to deal with that. Definitely have to deal with that. The red card was not necessary. Again, we had a lot of moments in the game where we looked sloppy, which I do not like. I do not like to see that, because we might come up against teams, not just in the Champions League, La Liga, where we are going to, they will punish sloppiness like that. Barcelona would definitely punish a team that is, looking sloppy like that. Vallecano, these are teams that can punish sloppiness. Champions League, Liverpool, Man City. These are teams that can punish you if you're making mistakes, which is something we did and I didn't like. Red card from Carvajal. Why are you arguing with a Marseille goalkeeper? This is not an El Clasico. This is not a match against Liverpool. This is not a match against Manchester City. This is a match against Marseille. We should not be arguing with Marseille goalkeepers. That is not the level Madrid players should be stooping down. No disrespect to Marseille, but Marseille are nowhere. We are light years away from Marseille in terms of relevance. So we shouldn't be seeing a Real Madrid player arguing with Dani Carvajal wearing the captain's armband, going up to a Marseille goalkeeper and arguing. I don't even understand how that should, that is happening in a team like this, in a position like this, knowing you didn't come off for Trent, who just got subbed off. He got injured. So now you've cost us a right back position in our upcoming Champions League matches. And as a captain, that is a little bit disappointing. Again, we look amateur a lot of times. First half, second half, we looked very amateur. Lost possession, misplaced passes. We should have done better. Definitely, we should have done better. I'm not even going to say this was a good result. The only positive I saw from this game was the full team press. I like the idea of the full team press. It makes us, take advantage of teams that are trying to pass off from the back and, put pressure on them and allow them to make mistakes. But apart from that, I do not like the performance I saw today. Good win. I'll take the win. 3 points on the board. But moving on to the next games, we have Espanyol in our next game. at Santiago Bernabéu, I want to see a better performance. If we're going to implement this 14 press, we win the ball high up the pitch. Oh, we won it a lot of times against Marseille. We win the ball high up the pitch. We have to take advantage of that. We have to take advantage of winning the ball high up the pitch, and we have to dispatch teams. When we have the opportunity to dispatch teams, we definitely have to be doing that. So I think I've talked about this. I think Mbappé is Mbappé. He's going to score these goals. I mean, we've been carried by Mbappé for so long. I think even the first game, Osasuna scores a penalty. You know, he's been doing so well. And I think it's a testament to his ability. It's definitely a testament to his ability. We need to just, make use of that and improve. I'm not going to complain way too much. I know I have complained a lot, but I'm not going to complain too much because I think there are positives. We're getting better as the, matches go on. Carreras, Houghton, Mastantuano, these are players that are improving as matches go on. But I want to see overall improvement from everyone. Rodrigo, Vinicius, Goulet. I mean, the mistake Goulet made that led to the goal. If that was against a really good team, we probably don't come back, We probably don't come back. So, yeah, definitely decent win. Didn't like some things I saw. We looked sloppy, and I hope that we do improve that in subsequent games. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. As usual, any feedback from you guys will be greatly appreciated.